Hello, class. How are you? I'm Jeffrey Rima. I had a little bit of time at work, so I'm going to try to get my video posted. Today, we're talking about what tools you can use on the G1000 if you're trying to get on with ATC and they're too busy to give you an updated weather brief. The G1000 provides you with awesome weather technology that can help you make a decision about your route or whether or not you're going to continue your flight or have to divert. And some of those things are very simple, like just using the information provided by the air data computer. Right there on your PFD, you have information such as the outside air temperature, which is great, especially if you're flying in IMC conditions, close to freezing. So you can make a determination if you need to climb or descend or get out of the cloud. And that's obviously very important. It also gives you your wind vector data, which is also extremely important for cross-country flying. Just the other day, I was flying with a pretty stiff headwind. We decided to descend a few thousand feet to about 3,000 feet MSL, and we ended up getting more of a crosswind than a headwind, and we actually gained about 10 knots of ground speed, which ended up very beneficial to us on a long cross-country flight. So those are just some of the easy things you can do to get weather information, but the G1000 does so much more. If you go to the weather data link page, which is just by using your big knob on the MFD to pull up the map page, and then using the small FMS knob to get over to the weather data link page, you can find a bunch of other useful information on that page. First off is NexRad, which shows precipitation in the area that you're looking at. You can scroll in and out to a pretty large view or pretty narrow view, depending on how much ground you want to take a look at. And this is good for knowing where weather's coming from and if weather's going to be along your route. Just know that NexRad is normally dated information. So up in the legend box in the top right-hand corner, you can see how long ago this information was generated. It's important to know that NexRad is made for situational awareness, not so you can try to pick your way through intense thunderstorms or anything like that. It just gives you an idea of where the precipitation is, what kind of precipitation it is, and if you need to avoid it, how you can, safely do so. Helps you make a plan. The other thing there is there's a lightning page, which shows you where the lightning strikes were. There's a SIGMET AirMet page, which will display SIGMETs and AirMets in the area. And the METAR page, which is pretty cool. So all the weather reporting stations, the G1000 will give you METAR information for that. And if you click the METAR button, it actually gives you little flags in different colors. They give you cyan for VFR conditions, a green for marginal VFR, yellow means IFR conditions, and magenta is going to be low IFR conditions. So if you're looking for an alternate airport or trying to stay away from weather, that METAR button could be very good. If you click the more weather information soft key, you'll get things like wind, which is cool because it gives you the wind to loft information. Again, great for cross-country stuff. So you can select that, and then it gives you a choice to select altitude from the surface in 3,000-foot increments up to your desired altitude. And you just pick the closest one to you to find out where the winds are in relation to you, or you can pick other ones to see if you want to either climb into better wind conditions or maybe descend a little bit lower into those more fair wind conditions. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. You can scroll around the weather page using the range knob. You just click it in, and then it turns into a little joystick that you can move around, and you can select information from different airports. If you're choosing, think maybe you need to divert, you can try to find a nearby airport on the map. You click the enter button, and that'll pull up the airport information page. If you click WX on the bottom soft keys, that'll give you METAR and if they have a TAF information. So that's pretty cool to use too for your cross countries, especially if you need to deviate for any type of emergency or unforeseen situation or any type of weather issues you see. So that's pretty cool. You can see the weather across your flight plan. So by just strictly hitting the flight plan button, clicking in the FMS knob, and then scrolling to the waypoint or weather reporting station that you want to find weather for. Like if your destination is an airport that has weather information, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom, click enter. That'll also bring up that airport information page. And then you just click the WX button, and it'll also give you METAR and TAF information if it's available for your airport. The other thing you can do, which is pretty neat on the map page, is use your your range knob, and then you can scroll around to other airports in the area as well, which is pretty neat. I do that a lot of times as well to pick out different weather reporting stations along my route to see if the weather that was forecast is the same as they're seeing on the ground at that time. And that's pretty cool to do, especially when you're flying closer to weather minimums or near freezing temperatures or something like that. You want to make sure you're not flying into an area where you're going to find cloud coverage or visible moisture, so you're going to pick up freezing. And maybe you can divert sooner than waiting till the last minute to make a decision that could result in you finding yourself in trouble. So that's a good way to stay ahead of the airplane and make sure your weather information is up to date and accurate from what you planned and to what you're expecting to see. It's important to know that while you're flying, just because you have all this weather information available to you, it's still important to check the ATIS at your destination airport. Things like runway closures, NOTAMs, any other specific information to your airport is not going to show up in that weather page. You're just strictly going to get the weather information. The ATIS gives you a lot of other good information, like special squawk codes for my airport, because we're in the DC CIFRA, to runway closures, to NOTAMs, to temporary towers, frequencies, and things like that. So it's important to check your ATIS as well. So don't just rely on that weather information. Again, it's just for situational awareness. It's not to be relied upon as a go-to or the only source of weather you get. Of course, you can always dial up flight service or ARTCC to get weather, but this is a pretty cool feature that the G1000 has. If you haven't flown with one yet, or you're still pretty new to flying in G1000s, I highly encourage you to play around in the weather pages, because it's going to give you a lot of good information and a lot of things to make sure you have situational awareness and you have a safe flight. I look forward to seeing your all's videos. Hopefully you found this somewhat informational, and have safe flying.